Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sadler Science, and today I'm going to be discussing using AI to gather data for your science class. If you're liking the information that you're getting here, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Today we're taking a question from Cindy, and Cindy says, I'm always looking for new and relevant data to use in my physics classroom, so where can I find that data? And I wish I had like a zillion answers for you, but really, I think the best answer is using AI. So I'm going to talk today about the pros and cons of using AI and some of the tricks that I use to make sure that I'm getting the most relevant data for my classroom. Okay, so let's talk about why we'd want to use data. I think the big one is that it's always important to use real and relevant phenomena in order to teach students concepts. Using real world data also helps expose students to the science and engineering practice of analyzing and interpreting data, which is one of your standards if you are in an NGSS state. Using data can also help students discover information. So, if I provide students with a data set, I can do a notice and wonder activity, and hopefully, they'll discover patterns in the data that will help them understand science concepts. Now, of course, this will take a little bit of facilitation on your part to get them to the point where they're really understanding these concepts, but this is a great first step. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of using AI. So, the first pro for me is that you get exactly what you need. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent looking for data on Google and just getting something that's close, but just not quite right. AI also pulls from countless data sources so that you can get a ton of information all at once. It takes your feedback and it can even create tables and graphs for you. So, some of the cons of using AI, I'm sure you're very aware of, but the first one is that you need to be very wary of incorrect information. So, because this pulls from a bunch of different data sources, if it pulls from an incorrect data source, that information will be incorrect. The other big con is that sometimes you don't get exactly what you want, and the AI won't understand the feedback that you're giving it. So you can get stuck in this loop of like trying to create what you want and it's just not quite working, which can be a big waste of time. There are a bunch of resources that you could use, including some that are specifically designed for education. I like just using ChatGPT because it has the most recent updates. So today I'm going to ask for ChatGPT to provide me with the frequency, wavelength, amplitude, and speed of sound in different media in the form of a table. So let's see what it gives me. So this is pretty much what I would have wanted from this data set. I'm noticing that for the amplitude, it says it varies with sound and intensity and source. So I am going to provide additional feedback to have it edit this table. So in about 30 seconds, it's giving me exactly what I wanted in my data set. Let me give you an example of something else that you could ask for. Get to give me the speed as well as the amount of kinetic and potential energy at various points in the ride Space Mountain at Disneyland. And notice I didn't ask it to give me a table, so I'm going to make that adjustment. And I also want quantitative information. So in this table, it gave me the speed and it gave me the relative amounts of kinetic and potential energy. It didn't give me the exact amounts of kinetic and potential energy. It's possible that if I would have asked it more specific information, for example, a specific time interval or something like that, it would have been able to provide me with more specific data. I also want to show you that it provided me with a relevant video that would be great as a way to capture um, your students' interest at the beginning of the lesson. So I absolutely love that. But again, this isn't necessarily exactly what I wanted, and this might be better in a graph form. So let me show you of kinetic and potential energy during the ride at Space Mountain at Disneyland, and we'll see what it comes up with. great notice and wonder activity because, as you can see, that when the kinetic energy increases, the potential energy decreases, and the reverse is also true. So this would be a great activity to introduce that. For that information in terms of a bar graph so that you get a different representation of this data, all kinds of things. Okay, let's do one more. I would like a data table with a specific heat capacity of various metals. Here we go. So I am just going to double check that using Google. And the reason that I'm going to do this is because I'm not sure if this data is correct. So I just Googled the specific heat capacity of various substances. And let's take a look at aluminum and then check it right here. So that looks the same, except with the exception of a difference in where it was rounded. So make sure that you're taking that extra step of checking your data every single time. Even if it's just spot checking like I did, you want to make sure that you're not giving your students information that's potentially going to harm their understanding. Okay, so I want to talk about a few things that I did to make sure that I was getting good data. The first thing is that I spot checked the information that I was given. You don't have to go through line by line and make sure that the data is absolutely correct, but you want to make sure that it at least makes sense, one. And two, I like to just take one data point and check it with Google. Second, be very specific about what you want to see. You can let it know that you want a table or a graph. You can let it know exactly what type of graph you'd like to see. You can also give it feedback based on the units. You can also tell it exactly what units you want the information to be in. And all of this information will make it easier for your students to use. My final tip is to make sure that you provide feedback if it's not exactly what you want. ChatGPT is conversational, so you can ask it to delete a column. You can ask it to add another data point. You can basically ask it for anything. Remember to be specific so that that information is good for your students, but also remember that every time that you're giving it feedback, you're taking a chance that it will misinterpret that feedback. So everything that you do with AI should just be given a second look to make sure that everything looks okay. I hope this video was helpful. Again, please make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so that you get all the updates. And I look forward to your questions.